let's flip a coin. Head Carolina, tails California, somewhere greener, somewhere warmer.
Hello, it's Andy Graham of hoboontheroad.com. I've traveled non-stop for 16 plus years and went to 101 countries. It's the Ask Andy Show, hoboontheroad.com. Ada van Dorp from the Netherlands, I think, asked a question, and I've been to West Africa, maybe, I don't know, West and East Africa total, about 8 times, I think. I just came back about 8 months ago from Togo, West Africa. Okay, Ada asked, "Hi Andy, I watch your videos every day, by the way. I like your beard." She's actually the first one to comment on my beards. "I'm actually the closest to being a hobo in Europe because it's so difficult to get a shower, I gave up on even shaving." Now you're in Europe, and it's interesting to hear your opinions about Europe. I don't agree with them all, the things you say, but I am from Europe. I saw your video where you talked about your trip to Iraq, and you say that the press cannot be trusted. It makes me think. I said in a video to answer a question, I explained some of my trip to Iraq just a couple days ago. It's October 2014. It made me think. I don't know if you follow the news when you travel. Yes, I do. I do follow the news. Ebola is big in the news, and the talk shows in Netherlands, Europe, and America every day. Everybody has an opinion, and it becomes mass hysteria. I'm aware that Ebola is a big problem in West Africa. I want to go to Togo in December to be with my friend for 4 weeks in Lomé. But this outbreak of Ebola makes me doubt whether I should go. Although there is no Ebola in Togo officially. Positive, if there is no Ebola in Senegal and Nigeria anymore, but the prospects for Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea are terrible. I think they're saying that there's right now at present all the cases of Ebola in Senegal and Nigeria are taken care of, and that really just Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea are terrible right now. I can imagine you are also concerned about your girlfriend in Ivory Coast. Yes, I am. I'm thinking about Bob. I've called her a couple times. My friend in Togo do not want to talk about Ebola. So typical African. Yeah, it's part of the culture. And don't forget superstition and witch doctors. They got a lot of underground religion in a way. It's the what is it? Voodoo, Voodoo they call it there. Marabout. I don't know if the news about Ebola for people in Africa is the same as news we get here in Europe or America. You say that the press cannot be trusted. We see the images every day. They are terrible and shocking. The help that is offered by the overdeveloped country is too little and too late. I am afraid of Ebola in Europe. I fear for the people of Africa who are not able to get this under control. I follow about the news of Ebola every day closely. This is the question. Do you think the news we get about Ebola in Africa is not to be trusted? Shall we trust the news reporters about Ebola? Well, you got 3 or 4 different sides. If it's like the Doctors Without Frontier or Medicine Sans Frontier or an NGO, non-governmental organization, or even USAID, or even sometimes the CDC, probably they're over-exaggerating the problem because they want funding. Okay, so they over-exaggerate. If you're talking about the media press like CNN, BBC, Sky Television, and all these different sources, Monde 5 or whatever in France, I would say they are not probably having anybody on the ground directly that is of European or American or British nature. What happens with the news is they have these correspondents, and I would say you shouldn't trust CNN, or, well, you shouldn't trust the NGOs, but you got hearsay. What I'm saying is the way the news is working anymore is they try to find an angle to work on, such as they come up with an idea, and then they try to give the photos and the news clips and everything to support that image. That's the reason why you can't trust them, because it's real easy to get photos on a very unique situation and try to explain it as being real. On the other side is, I was reading the other day, and I want to say, I'm probably going to make 2 videos on Ebola. Maybe tomorrow I'll make another one, but the first one is about, do we trust the press? You got 2 sides of it. The governments, which is the press is reporting what the governments say, right? And the governments don't want people to go into a panic where they just run and they get on an airplane and carry it to Europe, right? So they have a balance here. They got to do. Obviously, anybody with any kind of money in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea is probably, maybe very well trying to get on an airplane and leave the country. And so really they should quarantine these 3 countries. Not because this is much worse than malaria, this is much worse than AIDS, this is much worse than anything. I mean, if you get, as far as I can tell, if you get Ebola, you got about a 70% chance you're going to die, guaranteed chance you're going to die. If you get malaria as an adult, you got like a 1 in, I don't know, oh, my computer stopped, 1 in maybe 500 chance you're going to die, or probably more like 1 in 5,000 chance that an adult will die. It's usually babies that die because the mothers don't recognize it. But overall, generally, yes, AIDS and malaria kill a lot more people worldwide. But the transfer of Ebola is much more easy to do than AIDS. AIDS is really, you can stop it, you just don't have sex with people, right? The malaria is a mosquito-borne thing, and it really just kills babies that don't get diagnosed fast enough, for the most part. I mean, it will get you if you've got a weak heart and other things. But Ebola can be transferred, as far as I understand, is by mucus. That means by spitting and stuff. So if somebody sneezed on you, you could get Ebola. So this is spreading at at epidemic level, and the only way to do it is to create a buffer area where the people that have it or are in the area that have it cannot travel to the areas that don't have it. It's got to be contained. So is the press telling the truth? I really hope in this situation that the press somewhat puts the people in a little bit in a state of panic, where they start walking around with plastic gloves and face masks and things like that. The media is uncontrollable, and it's a free press, and they get paid by the number of views they have on television, or the number of views on the internet, or the number of newspapers sold. So obviously the more sensationalistic the articles are, the more money they'll make. So in one way, I guess I would say, but is it bad to sensationalize and make this worse than what it really is? No, because this has to be contained. Obviously, people in America have died, and I'm sure people in Europe have died from Ebola. And that means that the problem is spreading around the planet. It needs contained, and the U.S. government and all the European Union and all the governments of the planet need to get their act together and shut off the airplane traffic and the land traffic between these countries, and not allow things to happen. I don't know, it's got a 21-day cycle where it takes before you can show the symptoms. That means that's really a tough problem, because 21 days a person could not show the symptoms and they could travel. But can we trust the press? You never can trust the press, period. Okay? They will... They're not about telling the facts and the truth. They're only about making headlines. And the press has changed over the years. Even in my lifetime, the press went from just trying to be good, journalistic, report the facts the best they can in an unbiased way, to where right now on CNN or BBC or all these different things, it's melodramatic. You hear the music in the background. The music in the background is like a crescendo. It's like a movie. It's creating a mood of panic. On every article you hear the word. Michael Crichton wrote a book, State of Fear, and in this book he was telling how many times the word catastrophe and crisis are used. These are used on every single thing. And if you watch Wolf Blitzer, he's always got it in the war room or whatever, you know, his thing ever since the Iraq War. But the American public is too well informed, and you know, obviously they have a voice where they didn't used to have a voice, and this is also a problem. The internet, I will say that if you're going to trust the news, trust you know, the big newspapers like the Los Angeles Times, the Guardian in England, the New York Times, not so much CNN and BBC. BBC is a little better, but the newspapers are the best ones to trust, and the written word, because they can be held a little more liable, because if you want to, you know, you can have the printed word and you can show it back to them and you can hold them a little more liable. Don't trust the news on the internet at all. That's just total bullshit in a way. And one of the reasons why I record my videos in one thing and I don't edit them is because I want you to realize I'm not trying to maneuver you. I'm just trying to tell you the truth as best I can, and I want you to see my body language, and I want you to know me. It's a very good question. I don't think on this particular situation whether we trust them or don't trust them is important. I think an overblown hysteria is much more a better response than a thing, because they have got around to this too slow. I don't, you know, as far as how to deal with this problem, obviously we should limit the amount of contact we have with people just getting off planes from West Africa, right? And I would say I was thinking maybe of going next year to Togo, and I don't believe I will, because it's going to cause problems. But on the other side is there's people from Nigeria getting on planes going to Dubai and all these places. It's hard to explain the African people, but they come from an attitude like, don't ever call me stupid. And they have like a self-esteem situation where they always feel like they're the bottom of the class, and then some reason we're testing them, or if we ask them a question, we're testing their intelligence. This is culturally a very big problem in Africa, because especially it means the leaders are the same as this. If you ask them too many questions, they act like, you know, like we're testing their intelligence or we're testing their trust, and that's not the way we're doing. That's not the way you work in the first world. You ask as many questions as you can and the leaders have to answer questions until everybody's happy. While the leaders in West Africa consider it an insult that you ask questions. Instead, you're just supposed to blind faith trust them, and so the leadership in Africa is highly childlike. They can't handle a constant onslaught of questions, and they won't answer honestly. And then the people that are feeding them information don't want to annoy them by asking questions or try to explain and, you know, ask further questions until everybody understands. So the press is, and then the press, they're probably talking to the press, which is the same type of culture. Then they turn around and talk to CNN, and then the CNN person or the BBC person puts on one of their lead people to talk, but he really hasn't directly with the people. And this is the problem that happened in Niger, Africa, when they had a famine there. The wrong people were talking. When I was in Iraq, it was quite obvious that the major headliners, the BBC, CNN, and all these things, Fox News, didn't send. They were sending an Iraqi person or a translator to go into the place to take pictures, and then they came back and then they pretended that they were actually there. Okay, and that you'll see if you always watch the news, and they'll say, like the other day I was watching, a few months ago, I was watching a thing about Somalia, and the guy was reporting from Nairobi, Kenya. This is a long ways. This is one country over, but it's a long ways from thing. Always key in on where the reporter is standing when he's reporting it, and if he's actually showing something in the background that is actually action and not just some background, right? Because you can make it a background into it, but at the end of the day, should you ever trust the press? No. Okay, Andy Graham, hobotraveler.com. I might make another video about Ebola tomorrow, because I want you to realize the dangers of it. As far as I know, there's been 200 health workers that have died from this. That means that the health workers on the ground are not capable of taking enough precautions to protect themselves. So that's a leak in the dam. Andy Graham, hobotraveler.com.